A 68-year-old man told his wife he just felt a little off. That's it. 3 words. 2 days later, he was in the hospital. His heart had been warning him for weeks. He just didn't know what to look for. Today I'm going to make sure that never happens to you. Stick around, because sign number 5 is the one his wife told me she wishes she'd known about most. Hey, welcome back. Quick disclaimer before we dive in. I'm not a doctor. This isn't medical advice, just information to help you recognize patterns worth discussing with your own doctor. Okay, now here's what's wild about that story I just told you. When I dug into this topic, I found out that most heart problems don't announce themselves with some dramatic movie-style moment. They whisper. And the people who catch the whisper early? They're usually the ones with the easy outcomes. The people who miss it aren't. So let's make sure you're someone who catches it. Here's sign number 1. And I'd bet money you've already experienced this one without realizing what it might mean. But before I tell you what it is, I need you to remember a number, 3, because by the end of this video, there's a 3-word phrase your heart might already be telling you, and most people miss it completely. Hold on to that. Okay, sign number 1, unusual fatigue. Not, I stayed up too late, tired. I'm talking about the kind of tired where carrying groceries from the car suddenly takes everything you've got. Where the stairs you've climbed for 20 years now make you stop halfway and grip the railing. Here's the simple version of why this happens. When your heart isn't pumping as efficiently as it used to, your muscles and organs aren't getting the oxygen they need to keep up with daily life. So your body does the only thing it can. It makes you feel exhausted, hoping you'll slow down. And here's the part that gets people. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like flipping a switch. 3 months ago, the grocery run was nothing. Now you're sitting on the bottom stair, telling yourself you just need a minute. Most people adjust their whole routine around this fatigue without ever stopping to ask why the adjustment became necessary in the first place. So quick gut check. Has anything gotten harder lately that used to be easy? Keep that thought in your back pocket. Because in a minute, I'm going to show you how these signs connect to each other in a way that changes how you should think about all of them. Actually, hold on. Before sign number 2, let me ask you something. Have you looked at your ankles today? Not your feet. Your ankles. Because what I'm about to show you takes 10 seconds to check, and almost nobody does it, even though it's sitting right there in plain sight every single day. Sign number 2, swelling in the lower legs, ankles, or feet. Doctors call it edema. Most people see this and think, I've been on my feet too much, or must have been the salty dinner last night. And sometimes, that's exactly right. But when it happens regularly, or doesn't go away by morning, that's a different story. Here's why it happens. When the heart isn't circulating blood as efficiently as it should, fluid backs up in the veins and starts leaking into the surrounding tissue. Gravity pulls it down, which is exactly why it shows up in your lower legs and feet first, not your arms or your face. Here's that 10-second check I promised. Press a finger gently into the skin on your shin, hold it for a few seconds, then let go. If it leaves a little dent that takes a moment to bounce back, that's worth mentioning to your doctor, even if everything else feels totally normal. The cruelest part of this sign, it doesn't hurt. There's no pain pushing you to act. It just sits there, quiet, easy to ignore, which is exactly why it's on this list. Now, remember that 68-year-old man from the beginning? His wife told me about a moment, just 2 nights before he ended up in the hospital, that she replays in her head constantly. It's coming up in just a minute. But first, sign number 3. The one almost everyone blames on just getting older. Sign number 3, shortness of breath during things that didn't use to wind you. Walking from the living room to the mailbox and feeling like you ran a mile. Lying flat in bed and feeling like you can't get a full breath in, to the point where you start stacking an extra pillow behind your back without really thinking about why. Same logic as before. If the heart isn't moving blood efficiently, fluid can build up around the lungs, and suddenly breathing takes effort it never used to take. Here's the trap, though. Shortness of breath has a dozen innocent explanations. Out of shape, allergies, a cold, the weather, anxiety. So people grab the most harmless explanation and move on with their day. But the thing to actually watch isn't one breathless moment. It's the pattern. Is it happening more? In situations that didn't used to bother you? That's the signal. Not the single moment, the trend line. Okay. Here's that moment I promised you. 2 nights before that 68-year-old man, let's call him Robert, ended up in the hospital. He and his wife were watching TV. He stood up to grab a glass of water, walked maybe 10 feet to the kitchen, and had to stop and lean on the counter to catch his breath. His wife asked if he was okay. He said, yeah, just getting old, I guess. She laughed. He laughed. They went to bed. She told me that's the moment she thinks about most. Not because anyone did anything wrong. There was no way to know for certain in that moment. But because looking back, the pattern was right there. Fatigue. A little breathlessness. Things they'd both quietly written off for weeks. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you this because pattern recognition is the whole game here. And we've got 4 more signs to go, including the one his wife says she wishes someone had told her about before any of this happened. Sign number 4. Chest discomfort that doesn't actually feel like pain. Most people are waiting for something sharp and dramatic, and when it doesn't show up that way, they assume they're fine. But discomfort can show up as pressure, tightness, a squeezing sensation. Sometimes it even feels like indigestion. And it can show up in places you'd never expect. The jaw, the back, between the shoulder blades, down one arm. This matters especially for women, who statistically tend to describe these sensations as discomfort or fatigue rather than sharp pain, which is a big part of why these signs get dismissed more often in women than in men. Here's the real question to ask yourself, and it's not, does this hurt? It's, does this happen predictably when I push myself physically, and does it ease up when I rest? That pattern, even mild, even undramatic, is worth a conversation with your doctor. Not a Google search, an actual conversation. All right, deep breath. We're halfway through the list, and I promised you the most surprising one. This is it. Quick question, do you snore? Or has anyone ever told you that you do? Because what I'm about to tell you has nothing to do with your chest, and it might be the most overlooked sign on this entire list. Sign number 5, disrupted sleep, specifically, loud snoring with pauses in breathing, sometimes called sleep apnea. Most people think of snoring as a relationship problem, not a heart problem. Something for the other person in the bed to be annoyed about, not something to flag to a cardiologist. But here's the connection. When breathing repeatedly stops and starts through the night, the body cycles through drops in oxygen and stress responses, sometimes dozens of times a night, often without you ever fully waking up to notice it happening. Over time, that repeated nightly strain has been linked to elevated blood pressure, irregular heart rhythms, and general cardiovascular stress. This is the one Robert's wife mentioned to me specifically. She said he'd been snoring loudly for years, and they'd both just laughed it off as something old men do. They never once connected it to anything else. If you've been told you snore loudly, gasp at night, or seem to stop breathing for moments, or if you wake up exhausted no matter how much sleep you got, that's worth raising with a doctor. Not because it's automatically serious, because it's worth knowing either way. 2 more signs left. And the next one is something almost everyone has felt and immediately blamed on coffee or stress. Sometimes that's exactly what it is, but not always. And here's how to tell the difference. Sign number 6, palpitations. That fluttering, racing, or skipped beat feeling in your chest. Most of the time, this is genuinely harmless. Caffeine, dehydration, and stress can all cause it in perfectly healthy people. But when it happens frequently, lasts more than a few seconds, or shows up alongside dizziness or lightheadedness, that combination deserves attention. The confusing part is that anxiety can feel almost identical. So people who already deal with anxiety often assume that's the whole explanation every time. The real question is pattern and company. Is it happening alongside any of the other signs we've covered? Is it becoming more frequent over time? That's what separates probably nothing from worth mentioning. Okay, last one. And remember that number I asked you to hold on to at the very beginning? The 3-word phrase? It's coming right now. This is the sign almost nobody connects to their heart because it doesn't involve your chest, your breathing, or your legs at all. Sign number 7. A sudden, unexplained sense of dread. Some people describe it as something feels wrong, with no clear reason why. It's not everyday worry. People who've experienced this describe it as sudden, intense, and out of place, completely disconnected from anything actually happening around them in that moment. Here's that 3-word phrase. Something feels wrong. That's it. On its own, it means very little. Everybody feels anxious sometimes. But paired with any of the other 6 signs we covered today, it stops being a throwaway feeling and becomes part of a bigger picture. So let's run it back, fast. Unusual fatigue. Swelling in the ankles. shortness of breath during normal activity, chest discomfort that doesn't feel like classic pain, disrupted sleep with snoring, palpitations, and unexplained dread. Robert is okay. By the way, I should have said that earlier. He's home, he's recovering, and he and his wife are a lot more careful about what they brush off as just getting old now. His wife told me something I haven't stopped thinking about. We had every piece of the puzzle. We just never put them on the same table. That's really what this whole video is about. Not panic. Just putting the pieces on the same table. For you, before you ever need to. If this video helped you understand your body a little better, hit that like button. It genuinely helps this kind of information reach more people who need it. And if you're not subscribed yet, now is a good time. We put out new videos every week on practical health information for people who actually want to feel good in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. No scare tactics, no fluff, just straight talk. Leave a comment below and tell me, which of these 7 signs surprised you the most? I read every single one. I'll see you in the next video. Take care of that heart.